Hey, welcome. I am Dana K. White. I am the author of Decluttering at the Speed of Life. I'm the creator of the No Mess Decluttering process. And on Tuesdays, I try to come and answer your questions live. So, as it has been for the last month or so, I'm usually running in here at the last minute after intensive writing sessions. And so, working on the next book. What? But that means that I am just taking questions from those of you who are watching live. So ask your questions, put 3 question marks at the beginning of your question, and I will do my best to get to them. I don't always see all of them because they're coming fast and furiously. But a lot of times I will answer questions that are asked ahead of time at askdanakywhite.com. So if you are watching this in the future, let me make sure y'all can actually hear me. Nobody's saying you can't hear me. Oh, sound and video are good. Thank you. Yeah, so if you're watching this in the future, if you're not able to catch them live, you can ask at askdanakywhite.com. I also answer questions there on podcasts once a month as well. So I have a podcast. I just recently, I made a video, it may have been a decade ago. I don't know, about how to listen to a podcast. And as before I got back to doing YouTube regularly, but somebody commented and was like, thank you so much for explaining this, because I was thinking that a podcast was just listening to a video, and a podcast is a completely different thing. I do put my podcasts here on YouTube now. And they come out a couple days after they come out for, everywhere else. But a podcast is like through an app on your phone. You can listen to them on Spotify. You can listen to them on Apple Podcasts. There are all different sorts of apps, and they are there, and they are audio only, right? So a little weird for them to be on YouTube because it's audio only, but whatever. Because y'all asked for it, so I did it. All right, so oh, and then I also wanted to make sure let's say you have questions or you need personal guidance. Like you are like, I've read the book, all this, first step is to read Decluttering at the Speed of Life. But let's say that you're like, I need someone to guide me through this process. I have coaches. Declutteringcoaches.com is my website. Everyone there is trained and certified by me in my no mess decluttering process. So if you need someone to talk you through the method, to keep you on track, to make, help you work through the decluttering questions, all of that, as I do in my 1 hour betters. I have people who are trained and certified to do that, trained and certified by me. So, so they use my methods. So, all right, here we go. I will take questions from those of you who are watching live, and here we go. Jim, any tips for encouraging my kids to put their school bags on the books in the laundry room instead of the floor in the kitchen? Because of you, lots of stuff leaves my house every day. Thank you. I love it. Yeah. So here's the thing. In this scenario of a parent who is frustrated with their kids, of course, I've been the mother, because we all have those moments, right? But my real role in this scenario was more as the kid who couldn't remember to do stuff like that. Okay. And I did have the mother who reminded and tried, and she's a very intelligent woman, tried all the different tricks in the book to figure out how to get me to remember to do things. Here is what I have found, and I have found this as the person who needs to learn to do the thing and also facing reality. Like, I am a big fan of embracing reality. Okay. So reminders, of course, that's helpful. If that alone is not enough, a 5-minute pickup. Okay. So a focused family 5-minute pickup. Okay. For me, I don't have an awareness of when something leaves my hand, right? It is not out of not caring. It is not out of saying, I'm not going to put this in the place where it's supposed to go. It is literally, I didn't realize that this left my hand, right? And so the focused 5-minute pickup. Now, that is the way that you deal with all things out of place. And what happens with that is we're doing this as a family. This is where I want you to start. The more often that happens, the more often you do a 5-minute pickup, the more likely there is to be awareness that I'm setting this item down in the place where I always, always, always have to then go, put it somewhere else. But I also want to say, it is a good thing too, like anything that is a daily issue. When I came up with my basic habits, my story is that I started a blog with no intention of ever teaching anyone any of this stuff, right? I was just trying to figure out what is wrong with me. Like, why can I not do this in my house? And I'm just trying to get my house under control. So I was writing about that every day. What I did, not with some big, wonderful plan, was for the first week, I said, I'm just going to try to keep my dishes done because I know that people whose houses are under control, their dishes are not ever the way that mine regularly were, which was out of control, right? And so I was like, I'm just going to do this. And I found that I would tackle a problem, an issue, and usually if I focused on that issue for 7 days, I figured out the way to make it work in our home for me and how my brain works, right? So the other thing I would say here too is solve this problem every day purposefully for 7 days. Now, I know that you have an established place, but it's possible that the place is less natural than it needs to be. And figuring out solve the problem, whatever that means. I don't know if that means, okay, for 7 days, the minute we get home, I'm going to say, hey, let's walk straight there and let's put these things in the place. Or if I say, okay, I'm going to straighten this up every day for 7 days, whatever, it often will then reveal it. Because here's the thing. When you solve a problem every day for 7 days, you're solving it the first day when it is a problem, the kind of problem it's always been. The second day, it's not a problem again yet, right? Because it hasn't had time to build. The third day is when you start to go, okay, this is what didn't work. This is what did work, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Anyway, so those are just two different thoughts that I have on that. Okay. Can I ask y'all what you think about the lighting? Because I got blinds in my office. And so I don't have bright sun anymore. It's a little more diffused, but do I still have that shadow on my face from my monitor? I'm not sure. Anyway, I'm sure y'all will tell me what you think because you always do. All right. How to avoid temptation and buying all the pretty storage solutions before decluttering. To remember that decluttering and organizing are not the same thing. Okay. And I know you know that because of the way you asked the question, right? But I'm just saying, remind yourself, decluttering and organizing are not the same thing. And I literally cannot know. I cannot know what would benefit from a storage solution, what the storage solution could be, should be. It's not possible to know that before I've decluttered. Because if I am looking at a situation and I go shopping for stuff, all the things I have in my head are things that are trash and things that are obvious donations and things that shouldn't be in my house. Okay. The other thing I'm going to tell you is I just don't shop for storage solutions. Okay. So if this could be encouraging for you, all right. Decluttering was the answer. Storage solutions are not, and for me will never be the answer to my problems. I always thought a storage solution was the thing because here's just the thing, y'all. Storage solutions are something that people can sell you. And I don't like to get too much into blah, 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 whatever. But the reality is I could make more money if I sold storage solutions, meaning systems and bins and all that kind of stuff. But the reality is that that was never my problem was never that I didn't have a storage solution. I had all the bins and the baskets and the everythings. My problem was I had too much stuff. Decluttering was the actual answer. So, whatever it is, declutter and see if you don't even need that stuff. I mean, for me, it is just so much easier for me to have 5 items on a shelf, period. And every single one of those items is far enough apart from the others that I can see each item, I can access each item, I can put back each item without any kind of a system. Because here's the thing, I've embraced the reality of the space, but I've also embraced the reality of me. And that is, I have a clutter threshold, and complicated systems were never going to work for me. They were never going to work. They were only destined to be their own clutter. All right, here we go. Do you know anyone who does Stampin' Up card making? What would you suggest? Managing the inventory, keep less of this, more than that type of thing. I don't personally know anybody right now who does it. I have definitely in the past. I am pretty sure, and I wish I could give you more details, but I am pretty sure I did a strategy session, which is on my podcast. I do one of those a month with my kindred spirits, my Patreon people. The link is listed below if you want to find out more about that. Pretty sure I did one and we specifically talked about stamp stuff, but it is the same concept as what I did with Kara Brandon in the 1 Hour Better in her craft room. Okay. No category of item gets its own decluttering strategies with me. Okay. Because the 5-step no mess decluttering process works for everything. And it can feel like, oh, well, what about sentimental items? Oh, well, what about this category of items that I taught 6th grade for 14 years and now they just switched me to 2nd grade, but I would really like to go back to 6th grade and blah, blah. And it feels like all that makes everything different, right? But the reality is the process is the same because trash is always trash. Easy stuff that does have established homes is always easy stuff that does have established homes. Obvious donations are always obvious donations. So go through that process so that, because the problem is when we haven't gone through that process, we're looking at all the stuff we have. And it's so overwhelming because it's all the stuff. But if we can get out the things that you're like, well, of course that needs to go, right? These are obvious things. I have to stop and say, I really think my hair looks good today. What do y'all think? Don't tell me if you don't like it. But anyway, like I just keep looking at my own hair. I'm sorry. Okay, but I have to get those things out, right? Because they would have to be out anyway, right? So go ahead and go through that process. And then within your system, whatever you've got, okay, whether the space that you have is one rolly cart, that you've got, that I know I've seen. I remember the Creative Memories had these rolly carts, right? Like if it's one rolly cart, or if it's a cabinet, or if it's one drawer, or if it's an entire closet, or if it's an entire room, whatever space you have is the space that you have. And you have to embrace that space. So go with the decluttering questions with that space, not being coming up with new stuff, but like, this is the space, right? If I needed a stamp for Easter, where would I look for a stamp for Easter? Okay, well, I would look for that on this part of the shelf or this part of the area that I have. And then embrace. So like once you've gotten those things out so that you're not dealing with all of the obvious things, right? First, then it comes down to, this is the space I have for Stampin' Up stuff. The space I have is the space I have. And the goal is to use the stuff. And if the space is out of control and therefore I am overwhelmed, that keeps me from using the stuff and enjoying the stuff, because this is something that you only do because you enjoy it and you want to enjoy it, right? So with space to work being my number one priority, now have gotten out all the excess and I go, I have to face the reality of the space. This is the let's just say it's a cabinet with 2 shelves. This is the space that I have. I am going to remove my least favorites until I only have what will fit functionally in this space. Okay. Just like in one of those last questions about coming up with, storage solutions, before you do any of that, go through this because you might find, okay, because especially since part of that process of embracing the reality of the space is consolidating like items, you might find out that you have 6 of the same Easter stamp. I am not saying this is you. I'm just saying somebody watching, it's them. Okay. I'm just saying it's a thing, right? Because so and so that you knew and so that you knew, they decided to declutter their stamping stuff and they got rid of some things and all of a sudden you didn't even realize you had that. So go through the process with the space that you have for Stampin' Up! Stuff. Okay. All right. How did all your book promotions go with the Zoom groups? They went really, really well. Like, it was just confirmation that my followers are the best people, right? Like, I mean, y'all are truly lovely people. Like, and did I report back? I think I had like 35 people come to my book signing, and I know I had talked to y'all about it. Like, please come if you're in Dallas, because I don't want to not have anybody show up. But like, it's like a family reunion. I mean, it was just so much fun. It was just so much fun. And in case you don't know what she's talking about, my newest book about the spiritual side of all of this is available wherever books are sold. So the link is below. Let's see. I just purchased Jesus Doesn't Care About Your Messy House and How to Manage Your Home Without Losing Your Mind. I'll be receiving any day now, Decluttering at the Speed of Life. Order to read. Yeah, I would read them in order. Honestly, I would. There's no meaning How to Manage Your Home Without Losing Your Mind came out first. Decluttering at the Speed of Life, and then Jesus Doesn't Care About Your Messy House. So, they do not have to be read in order, but here's why I would say that order. How to Manage Your Home Without Losing Your Mind is for the person completely overwhelmed, right? So wherever you are, it's going to be helpful for you, even if you are just at a state of complete and total despair, right? Like, I don't know where you are, but these are the basics. These are the basics of keeping the house under control, getting it under control and keeping it under control. I talk about decluttering in there because that's part of getting a house under control. And then Decluttering at the Speed of Life dives deep into my no mess decluttering process, how it works, how it plays out in all the different places. And then, you're going to feel so hopeful and empowered, and you're going to be ready for the message of Jesus Doesn't Care About Your Messy House. So, but you can also read them in anything. How can I become part of your larger group? Is that the same as Patreon? I really just have the only really focused place where we put a lot of time and effort into making sure it's the safe space. And we have monthly Zoom calls, and some of my assistants run work-alongs and things like that. That is all within the Patreon group. So yes, patreon.com/aslobcomesclean. That is my kindred spirits group. That's what we call ourselves. Desperately need tips on organizing when homeschooling a child with several pieces of mobility equipment: wheelchair, gait trainer, bath chair, activity chair, and more. Also school supplies. Yes, I see your upside down happy face because it's overwhelming. So I think the first thing to understand is, especially in a situation like yours, your situation is legitimately challenging. Okay. So I always find it to be like, let's acknowledge those challenges. Let's say this is challenging. So it's not like, oh, just do this and it'll all be easy. Because if somebody tells you just do this and it'll all be easy, they're full of dookie, right? Like, you just know that because you're like, no, this is a challenge. And most people don't have a full understanding of the challenges that you're facing, right? So we take the same process that we use for Stampin' Up, and we apply it to this incredibly difficult, challenging situation, right? And we say, okay, I'm going to start with the stuff that's not challenging. because I have enough challenges that I'm facing. I'm going to start with the stuff that is non-emotional and that is like, wait, why did I already do this? Right? Because what happens is when you're in an extremely difficult situation, it feels like everything is difficult, right? Like everything is difficult. Everything is hard because you are facing such difficult, challenging things. So taking a moment and going, there are challenges here. I am going to start with the non-challenging stuff because out of this, there's some stuff that's non-challenging. So I'm going to start with the trash and say, is there any trash? There's probably not. There always is. But is there any trash? I am just going to see if there's trash. And if there is, I'm going to throw it away, put it in the recycling bin, whatever I already have established. I'm not going to add some, recycling thing to my load if I don't already have a routine. Okay. But I'm going to get rid of it in a way that I already have to get rid of things. And that will get you started, and it will start to reduce the overall volume of things, and it will start to then help you feel a little bit less overwhelmed, a little bit less like, oh, I've actually made an impact. Go through the process and then acknowledge the fact when we get down to the container concept, okay, putting like items together will be very helpful for you, okay? Because if this is something that has been a lifelong thing, most likely you have collected a few of some of these items, right? Like maybe, your child has grown out of something and then this is the older one. And it's like, wait, what if, because what can happen is you're like, okay, so we got the one for a size up and yet he's not technically not able to use this one. So I'm going to keep this one for right now, blah, blah. So taking that and going, I'm going to put these items together and go, oh, actually I've got 6 of these because people gave them to me or whatever. Right. And you go through that and then you acknowledge the reality of your space. And here's the thing about acknowledging the reality of your space. It's not saying, well, then you can't have your bath chair because you have to have a bath chair. Right. So instead it's saying, this is something I have to have. Therefore, it deserves space because this is what we need for our actual right now life is these items. They deserve space. That means other things are going to have to go. And when you start looking at it that way, it's not often, almost always the situation where you look at something and you think, oh, this is a great thing. This entire closet full of, the stuff from, I don't know, whatever it was that my wedding china, something like that, like my wedding dishes and things that we do use. And I have all these reasons, but I go, you know what? If it's a choice between all of those items and the bath chair is our right now life in this way. And so it just helps you start to look at things differently. So it's decluttering first, because I know you said organizing. As y'all know, I achieve organization through decluttering. So that's where I focus. Okay. And I'm sure there's great people who talk specifically about these needs, but I am always going to tell you in every situation, decluttering, getting rid of the stuff that, oh, actually, yeah, I'm just taking the moment to acknowledge I don't need this item. That needs to go. Yeah. I feel like there was and school supplies. Same process on the school supplies. Let's see. What do you think about keeping an inventory list for each cabinet and drawer? I put items where I would look for them first. However, my family is always asking where an item is located. That is over my personal clutter threshold. But if it is something that works for your clutter threshold, great. Here's what I would do first. I would declutter before you do any of that. Like declutter hard the whole dang house, right? Like go hard, because the other thing too is like, and I'm going to do a video on this for, next year, but this whole idea of like, oh, I have so much stuff and I don't remember where things are. Part of the reason why I had a hard time remembering where things were was that I had so much stuff. It was just overloading my brain. Right. So instead I just have less and less stuff so that then I can remember, so that then I can see. But if you want to do this, okay. But before you do any of that, declutter, because what can happen is you're like an inventory list. That's it. And there are apps and there are things and there are ways to do that. And people love it. People like me tend to go inventory list. That's it. And then I get obsessed with the inventory list and I'm inventorying things that if I just went through the decluttering process, those things would just be gone and I wouldn't have to worry about it. So declutter first. All right. Because creating an inventory list is not decluttering. Let's see. How do I deal with the random laundry that is not on laundry day? For example, a kid has an accident in their bed, needs to be cleaned right away, then the schedule feels off. Change your thinking on that. Actually, these types of situations are the reason I love laundry day. Okay. Because my washing machine is open and available for emergencies the other 6 days a week, right? Because this is an emergency. This is not something you can predict. You also don't want to just set it in the laundry because then it's going to stink, right? By Monday or whenever you do your laundry day. So instead, think of it as laundry day is a blessing so that I can deal with these emergencies when they come along. What are things I can say to myself, pep talk, when I'm not feeling it and things once again have gone backwards? I'm not a big fan of cheerleading. I mean, I was a cheerleader. So I was a huge fan of cheerleading when I was a cheerleader, right? But as far as like a motivational strategy, I find it much better to have an actual strategy. So what do I say to myself? Just start with the trash, Dana. Just start with the trash. Knowing what to do, or just do the dishes, Dana. That's what I say. But you would not say Dana. You would say Nikki. Okay. Remind me again of your best advice for moving. Family of 4, 2 young kids, moving from a 2-bedroom to a temporary 1-bedroom. I asked the moving company how many boxes for a 1-bedroom. They said 20. And then you have a face on there. I would get the 20 boxes that they recommend. And I would start packing. It is, put your favorite things in first. It is shocking how it just clarifies things to know that there is a limit. Okay. That shocked face that you have is your biggest tool in this situation. Like, what? That's all I can take? Of course you can take more, right? But if you go into it and you say, these are my 20 boxes, I am going to put my favorite things in first, it is naturally going to sort out what is less favorite. I do want to say that I have a video, my top 3 tips for decluttering for a move. So make sure you go watch that. Thank you. Thank y'all for commenting on the lighting. I am seeing that shadow. I don't know if it's, I don't know. We'll see. Oh, the other thing on moving is to start out with going hard on trash and obvious donations so that you're not even thinking you have to make a decision. You're not even looking at stuff thinking it's decisions to be made when it's actually trash or an obvious donation. See, now y'all are all being nice about my hair because I thank you. That's just what I need to do. All right. I'm good at getting rid of trash and clothes that have seen better days, but I have a lot that are nice and I don't want to get rid of them, but I don't have space for it in my closet. It's really hard. It is really hard. You know that. It's not an all or nothing. It is I'm gonna get rid of my least favorites until it all fits here and I can manage it. Okay. I have found that as I declutter, I actually find plenty of containers for corralling similar small items. So far, I've bought 2 $1 rectangular plastic woven looking baskets. It looks like this is the first of a second. Okay, there you are. That fit a small 2x3 cube shelf unit that hangs on the wall in our tiny first floor bath and is the only storage in the room where they keep the stuff from rolling off. Yeah, I mean, that is so true. I would say the vast majority of people here who have been actively decluttering will say that. I mean, I hear it from people all the time. It's been my own experience. It's like, oh, I have emptied a bunch of stuff. Like I end up decluttering containers. My problem when my house was out of control was never that I didn't have enough containers. That's for sure. Let's see. Let's see. How do we find out about your lives? Listen, this one I set it up 10 minutes ahead of time. I have no idea how y'all find out about that. There are other people who are listening might know. Definitely set alerts. I've heard people say you need to set alerts on different devices. Like just because you have it set it as an alert on your desktop does not necessarily mean that you're going to get an alert on your phone. I don't know if that's true or not. I have no idea. I try to do Tuesdays at noon, but I can't always do Tuesdays at noon. So I will probably not do one next week. Thank you. You have gorgeous hair. I've always wanted to ask the products and tools that you use. I have very curly hair. I don't want to take away from this chat. Thank you. Okay. Here's what I will tell you. Because I can tell y'all this because y'all are my internet friends. It's very awkward to say this in real life, but you can just Google Dana K. White hair routine or curl routine, and you should find it. So it's very awkward in real life when somebody's like, hey, what do you use on your hair? And I'm trying to explain it. And they're like, okay, well, can you write that down for me? And I'm like, actually, you can just Google. And that's a weird thing to say to a real life friend. Okay. Please, can you speak on how to use your strategies in other areas of life, specifically decision-making, overcoming project brain mentality? Yeah, so that's what I'm writing about right now with my new book. So anyway. How do you handle projects like replacing the blinds, varnishing the handrails? LOL. Okay, so here's the thing. When I have decluttered, when I have my daily habits going strong, then when I have one of those moments where I'm like, oh, I've got 2 hours on this Saturday morning. What? I'm like, okay, I'm going to pick my favorite project and I'm going to work on that. I literally, quite literally, which you may have said this because I just said I got new blinds. I literally just did that. And it's that idea of what is the very smallest thing I can do to move me forward. This answers that last question, right? Strategies in other areas of life. What is the smallest thing I can do that moves me forward on this thing that feels daunting, right? And I will say, probably the very smallest thing I could do was somebody I follow online said, this is the easiest type of window covering and she's lovely, right? But the easiest kind to install, like it's so easy to install. So I was like, okay, so I ordered one. I didn't order them for my whole house. I ordered one for the main window I wanted, and I tried and I failed miserably. And so that was my non-committal experimentation. And I was like, you know what? I can't do this. This is really overwhelming. And get them in the exactly, no. And so I went to blinds.com. Like, this is not an advertisement. I have heard them advertised, and I just went there and I'm like, I wonder what this is like. Well, they send somebody out and they measure all your stuff, and it was so worth it. So worth it. It was expensive, but it wasn't as expensive as I thought it would be. Right. But it was like, those guys came in yesterday, and I was like, it probably took them longer because I had 24 windows to do because there were basically no blinds in my house. So they came in, and I think the thing that took them the longest was to take everything out of the boxes because they'd shipped things to my house, and then the installers came and like go put them in all the right places. And then like I turned around and they were done. Like, it was so worth the money. But that's not what your question is. But like these things, yes, I take it as getting those basics under control gives me the freedom and the bandwidth to do those other types of things. Any of your books got translated? They don't seem to be available in my country, and I'm low-key considering taking it on myself, but I don't know the logistics of that. I will tell you, I have had people volunteer, and I have tried to connect them with my publisher because legally you have to go through my publisher to translate my books, and it has never worked out. And that's very frustrating because I know I get requests most often for German and Spanish, and those are two languages that they've never been before. But I know that my first two books are both in Polish. I know How to Manage is in Russian. This is the Japanese version of How to Manage Your Home. This is the Polish version, I think, of How to Manage Your Home. And this is the Polish version of Decluttering at the Speed of Life. This is, y'all might know if it's simplified Chinese or is it complex Chinese? Because it's been translated into both. They are supposed to. It is part of the deal that they are supposed to send me a copy. And they don't always do that. But so yes, my book has been translated into quite a few languages. But what basically the way it works is that a publisher works with my publisher to buy the rights to that book, and then I have a publisher in that country where then they do all that. But okay. Let's see. Again, if I have not seen your question, make sure you're putting question marks at the beginning of it, because that's what I noticed, because otherwise y'all are talking to each other and I may not see that it's a question. Do you use the where would I look for this first when packing for a trip? I use where would I look for this first all the time for all the things. I mean, like, yes. So yes, for sure. I'm a pastor's wife and would love to share your plan with the ladies of my church. Do you have any tips for presenting with a group? Would it be a good idea to stage a mess for teaching purposes? I think that's a great idea. I have done that personally. I spoke at a conference last year for the international, ICCI, anyway, Christian coaches, life coaches, and mental health professionals and stuff. So, so like I taught the basics and also did a demonstration of it to work through it. I do have, my coaches do have access to curriculum that we give them for both a single session and for a 6-week curriculum. So, my coaches are, licensed to teach that as long as they're certified. Let's see. Any advice on determining how many of insert category of item you need? Trying to convince my mom to declutter kitchen. We all use. Let's see. Oh, we all use meanwhile, the drawers are cluttered, overfilled to the point it's hard to find stuff, especially if you're looking for something very specific. There's lots of duplicates. Yeah, I do not do the counting thing, because the counting thing is what I used to try to do, and it never worked for me because I was trying to use math, right? So I know I have a video like from probably January of 21. It was like one of my first videos when I came back to doing YouTube, where I talk about decluttering without using math. And I remember because a lot of people were like, "Oh, I thought you said decluttering without using meth." And I was like, "What?" Anyway, but yeah. And so I kind of talk about that concept of like not using math, but instead using the container concept and going through the process, okay, to do that, because it works better than trying to use the math. Let's see. Tips for decluttering emails. Yes, I have a video, which when it first came out, YouTube decided to show it to exactly no one. So it's very likely you have not seen it, even if you watch all my videos. Lately, it seems like they kind of went through a phase where they were showing it to some people, which is great, but it's not super old. It's about a year old at this point. But anytime you want to search for something by me, always put in so on YouTube, put in like email decluttering Dana K. White or something like that. Just put in my name and you'll usually find that. But always put the K in there because there is a Dana White. Your new book sounds fabulous. Any idea on a release timeframe? It is out. It is out. It came out February 11th. So it has been out for about a month and a half now. So yeah, it's available wherever books are sold. Get it at your local library. If they don't carry it, request that they carry it. And then, but I mean, obviously you can buy it too. So let's see. Yeah. So Jody's saying she used budget blinds 20 years ago and it was awesome. I just like the speed at which they did it. Now, here's the thing. When I had to set up my appointments for the measuring and for the install, they made me do 3 options on times. And I put in as my number 1 option, like the best time for me. But then like my 3rd option was actually a sooner date and they picked that. Like it was amazing to me how quickly they got to me and did all the stuff. How do you pick outfits when packing for travel? I struggle with this. I don't feel like this is my area of expertise at all, because I overpack for travel. So sorry. How do you store off-season clothes? I have a very small closet, so I went to use bins. That's okay, correct? I mean, you do what you want to do. If you can keep it under control, it fits in the space that you have. It's not taking up the space that you need for other things. I specifically have a video. I don't know when it came out, but look for, I think it was this year. So it probably was September, maybe. On YouTube, look for Dana K. White seasonal clothing changeover. And that video explains all of that. Having a hard time remembering everything with a full plate. Suggestions. Yes. Start with the trash. I know that sounds that it, I'm not sure what your full plate entails. I don't know if it is literally all things that you can have no option but to do. But like when I get this way, I completely understand. I'm like, okay, there are things that feel like they have to be done, and yet I am going to let those things go guilt-free. I'm going to check that off on my list without doing it. Because I am making a decision that these are the things that can't be done. So sometimes it becomes an issue of, you know what? Like as a rule, we don't use paper plates, right? Like we use them when we have an event at the house or, we have a bunch of people over, whatever. Sure, of course I'm going to use them then. But as a rule, we don't. But like if I'm going through a phase where you are under a lot of stress, I'm like, okay, I'm going to make this decision. I think I have a podcast. I think it's actually here on YouTube. We only started doing that fairly recently. So I have like 450 podcasts. And so they're not near all on here, but I think it's called Overwhelmed, Pick a Skillet. And the idea behind that is like narrow down those choices, because in those moments where you are legitimately overwhelmed because you have so much going on, it's helpful to really narrow down those choices, meaning like it can feel like, oh, I need tons of skillets so that I've always got one clean. And yet that ends up contributing to the overwhelm, making it even worse, where instead, if I focus on, okay, I am going to pick a skillet, I'm going to say, this is the only skillet I'm going to use. And okay, so when I go away to write, one of the things that I do, I have this little game I play with myself where I try to only use one mug. And meaning I drink my coffee in it. I eat some cereal in it or oatmeal in it. I have soup for lunch in it. I have, I know I've done like tuna salad in it. I mean, obviously I wash it between, but that's the whole point is I'm like, I am setting this up. I am narrowing it down so that I cannot get overwhelmed by this thing, because I've got enough stuff making me overwhelmed. How does someone get certified as a decluttering coach? So declutteringcoaches.com is my website that answers all of that will give you all the information that you need about that. So the way that I do it is I have a training course. Okay. So the training course, and it is an investment. I'll tell you what, because it's meant to, be a decluttering coach as a business. It's not, it's why I don't tell everybody you need to go, let's get this course. But you get the course itself, you go through the course, do whatever you want to with that. Like if you want to set up your own decluttering coach business, not being certified, just having gone through the training and, learn things for yourself and do things on your own, that's fine. That's great. After you finish the course, once it's completed, then you get the link where if you would like to be certified, then you can be certified. And so once you go that route, which certification is an additional either monthly or yearly fee. And as you have that, once you do that, then my assistant, Linda, goes through and grades all of your assessments. We can grade your assessments even if you're not doing certification, but you do have to email us and let us know that you want us to do that, right? Because people use this course for whatever it is that they want to use it for. So after you go, she goes through and she checks everything. And then once you have successfully completed everything and we know that you fully understand the methods and the clients that you're going to be working with and all that, then you get listed on the site, declutteringcoaches.com. If you go there, there's a really cute little map and you can click on your state and find out if there is a coach in your state. So you can be listed there and you get access to all of our past trainings, which we do one a month. And we've been going for 2.5 years now. So, that's a lot of past trainings that are helpful for you as you build your business and all that. So, yeah. Okay. I started with the visibility rule, but due to my living situation and time constraints, I have to move on to my basement, which is a lot of categories. Thoughts? Yes. Start with decluttering. Pick an area of the basement, the most visible part of the basement, go through the 5-step process, go hard on that trash and decluttering, because don't even think about categories and all that kind of stuff until you have gotten all the stuff out that has no business being there. Which anytime there is an overwhelming space like that, it just somehow collects those things. Okay, so Jen saw the email video when it came out. It helped so much. It really, yeah. Name of book. Jesus Doesn't Care About Your Messy House is the name of my newest book. And Janine says, I have your Jesus book and love it. The calls about the book were great too. Oh, you're referring to the book that I just mentioned I'm writing now. I think it comes out in the fall of 2026, which is why I'm not advertising it yet, right? Because it's a long way away. So I'm still in the writing the initial original manuscript. Okay, let's see. I use some finished dishwasher pods. Now my dishwasher won't get my dishes clean anymore. Lots of gunk even after 3 washes. What to do? I have no idea. I would look up your specific model of dishwasher and see if the manufacturer has some videos on how to clean it out or something like that. Because I really don't know. It almost sounds like maybe something got stuck somewhere, but I don't have any kind of actual information. Issue with clothes. In a single day, I changed 3 sets of clothes. In 24 hours, I switched from home clothes to workout clothes to work clothes to workout clothes. All of them end up on the bed as a pile. Help. Thank you. Yeah. Here's the thing. I know there are people watching right now because I know my best friend is I do not like to change clothes. I want to wear the same thing all day long. And I'm like, oh, I change clothes multiple times a day. Because I'm the same as you. I'm like, I'm not going to. Who cooks dinner in their work clothes? I mean, come on, right? Anyway, so I get you. I understand. Like we talked about at the beginning of the video, solve this problem every day for 7 days. So be incredibly purposeful and mindful about this every day for 7 days so that you're going to figure out what does work for you. The other thing I'm going to say is I have a video on what to do with clothes that are worn, but not, but you can wear them again or whatever. Not dirty. You can wear them again. So watch that. Hooks, things like that to put those things on so that they have an actual place to go. But I'm reading all about your certified decluttering coaches, many great bios here. I'll be doing online, how to choose. So very soon we are going to add a first available virtual coach option. Yeah, they're all great. I love my coaches. They're so great. Okay. How do I overcome the setback I had with my husband? It was trash day and I threw out some Amazon boxes. Now he doesn't trust me to declutter. Honestly, for this specific thing, I would say, and I say this because I know it can be a struggle for me, and I hear from a lot of people like me, and I'm not sure where you fit into that spectrum of how we are, but I would say being purposeful about if an Amazon box comes in, we open it and I break down the box so that I don't just have boxes sitting around, like being purposeful about something new comes in. Where would I look for it first? Let's take it there now. Involve him on that process to try to earn back that trust. Do I have decluttering coaches in Chicago? Go to the map at declutteringcoaches.com and click on Illinois and see if there is anybody in there. I'm trying to think. We have like 65, I think, certified coaches at this point. We've had a lot more than that go through the program. But 65 or so who are certified. And so I don't know off the top of my head exactly where everybody is. Once we declutter our fridges, freezer, and small chest freezer, any tips for organizing what stays? I'm thinking labeled bins, organized by group so we can use the container space most effectively. Sure, sounds great. Don't even worry about it at all until you've decluttered. Because when you're trying to think of an organizing solution before you have decluttered, you're not actually dealing with reality yet. So declutter first, purposefully not thinking about how you're going to organize it. Just declutter first. Okay. Once I have done a first round of decluttering the house, do you start again at the entry or somewhere else to continue decluttering? Yeah, I would start again at the entry with the visibility rule. Especially if you did maybe surfaces the first time, go ahead and start back in that space, do the surfaces again, because that's how we maintain decluttering progress. And then go deeper into the actual, nooks and crannies and storage places. House with no storage furniture, very little closet space, but lots of stuff with no home. What would you do? Declutter. I know that's a very simple answer, but I will say oversimplified. Okay, I acknowledge that. Read Decluttering at the Speed of Life. Read my book, Decluttering at the Speed of Life, because it will change your mindset about this and will also walk you all the way through the process. Okay. So there is an answer, and the answer is most likely less stuff, not no stuff. We all know we have to have some stuff. And the issue of things that don't have a home, you identify the home. Okay. We're not going to make up a home, but we're going to identify what the home needs to be according to answering the question, if I needed this item, where would I look for it first? That is its home. I have a video called Finding a Place for Everything. So Google Finding a Place for Everything, Dana K. White, or, put that into the YouTube search bar and you'll find it. Okay. You'll find that video, and that will explain to you how it is that you find a place for everything. Okay. I am not sharing the name of my new book. It is about procrastination. So, but I'm not sharing the name of it because I don't know what the name is going to be. I know what the name is going to be, but it's not official at this point. Hi, I love your method and I'm finding it helpful. What are your thoughts on nostalgic things that are usable and wearable? I don't use or wear them anymore, but they are very niche. Donating seems weird. I will say that there are a lot of people who love niche nostalgic things. And so I don't think there's anything wrong with donating it. But as far as anything that I have, I ask myself the question, if I needed this, let's say, if I needed this fringed, well-worn leather jacket, where would I look first for this fringed, well-worn leather jacket? So I am not asking the question, am I ever going to use it? Will I ever wear it? Is it weird to keep it? I'm not asking any of those questions. I am literally saying, if I needed a fringed, well-worn leather jacket, where would I look for it first? And then I answer that question. And then I take it to that space. So it's no longer hypothetical. I take it to that space and I see, is there any room for it here? If I've got room for it in the place where I would look for it, I can keep it. Sometimes though, I go, oh my goodness, of course that can go, right? Like, I don't want to actually store this thing, but it takes me out of the whole, like, should I, shouldn't I? Is it weird? Is it not? Blah, 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 blah. And I go, you know what? I'm going to base this on facts. If I needed specifically this item, where would I look for it first? I take it there now. Is there space for it? If there's not, am I willing to get rid of something else for it? Well, no, because it's actually not something I would ever wear. But it also means there's no arbitrary rules on these things. But I do think that donating is fine. Let's see. Janine says, that's awesome. I'll make fall of 2026 my goal for fully decluttering my home. I love it. Okay. How do I get, okay. Oh, here we go. This is the thing on the Amazon boxes. He was saving the Amazon boxes and I threw them out. Here's what I would say then. You know, I mean, we all live in the house. We all have ideas. I am definitely the person who totally understands what it's like to have had an idea about something and nobody else understood what my idea was about that thing, right? And so tell them you're sorry and then say, okay, where would you look first for these Amazon boxes? Okay, let's give him a space for that is designated so that they're not just randomly all over the place. And, you know, so that was one of the things, like, I've talked to my husband before and he's talked about it, I think specifically on my 100th podcast. When I talked to him, he specifically talked about how helpful it was for him when I was like, hey, I cleared out this space for you to put these things that you need. That doesn't mean he's not sometimes like, oh, do I have to really dig in there now? I don't want to do that. You know, not like we don't ever have those issues. Of course we do. But like giving him a real place for something was incredibly helpful in both the maintaining of our home and also in the relationship. Let's see. How do I get used to the calm feeling? I grew up in a cluttered, disorganized house, partially raised my son in one. He's 16. At least he could see the positive changes now. It still feels foreign. Yes, here's my strategy to give you on that. What were the things that you could not do in the house that you grew up in that you wished you could do, that made you want to live differently? What were the things when you were, you say you're partially raised your son. So let's say for the first, let's say you started working on this 5 years ago. I have no idea. But what were the things that you couldn't do in your home because of the clutter and therefore you were motivated to declutter? Was it that you couldn't relax and watch movies together? Was it that you couldn't, and I know he's 16, so this is, different, but was it because you couldn't easily bake cookies, for him when he was a kid or whatever, like, and there may be a different version now of, whatever it is that he would like, but really zero in on doing the thing that you couldn't do when the house was cluttered. And that will help you to appreciate the state that it's in now. Okay. I am going to answer 2 more questions. And then, that's it, because it's already time. It's 1:00. Okay. When coming back from a trip, how to tackle the house when you're tired? I don't, I'm not good at this. So I mean, like, do the dishes. It always is very helpful to me to have the place to start, right? Like having the place to start is extra helpful in times where I don't feel like doing it. I'm exhausted, right? So start with the dishes. If you're like, oh my word, who has left dirty dishes when they went on a trip? But if that's not the issue, start with the trash. Like that is the most, knowing where to start in a time where I'm overwhelmed and exhausted is incredibly helpful for me. Last question. I have been thinking of doing your decluttering coaching program. Do you think it's important for a coach to have their own lives 100% together using your rules before doing the program? No, I do not. Because I'm here and I don't have my life 100% together and I'm still constantly decluttering and no, absolutely not. Like think about the fact that if I had waited until I had everything together before I started sharing, I would not be here right now. And I don't just mean I wouldn't be here where I am in my business. I mean, like I wouldn't even be here because like you're never going to have it all together. The most helpful thing that was I heard at a blogging conference years and years and years ago was um, specifically talking about coaching was it feels like I need to be at Z before I can help somebody at A. But in reality, somebody at the A point just needs somebody at C to tell them, how do I get from A to B to C? Okay. Like you're leading them through this process. So, no, absolutely, you don't have to have everything perfect because perfection is not a thing anyway. Right. All right. This has been fun. I appreciate y'all so much. It's always so fun. And I will probably not be here next week, but should be here the week after that. And who knows, maybe next week I'll show up, but is what it is. All right. Bye, y'all.